Hello, welcome to Record Sports Hotline Live. My name is Daniel Cott. I'm delighted to be joined tonight by none other than Keith Jackson. Keith, how's it going?
Don't even ask.
Excellent. And we're also joined by Record Sports Michael Gannon. Mick, how are you?
I'm all right. I'm not too bad. Driving the golf course. It's a nice night as well, but apart from that,
Lovely night.
My heart bleeds for you.
I should say, I didn't say, Keith, brought to you by NordVPN. It's very important.
You should have done that because I remember to do that last night. Our friends at NordVPN.
That's why you're a pro.
Yeah. Mick, honestly, my heart bleeds. You should be out on a golf course. I wish you would have spent the last 4 hours with me going through these security modules that they've got us doing in order to get insurance to go to the World Cup. I swear, I have never seen anything like
it. Jumped to get to the World Cup. If only we're all going to the World Cup. Oh, boo-hoo. I had to fill out some forms to go to the World Cup.
Your diamond shoes are too tight as well, Keith.
The diamond knickknacks are too tight.
Well, when you put it like that.
Yes. Not that I'm better.
Aye, so there you go. A couple of people already, Keith, asking if I got up the road okay. I did just about. Here I am. I'm very sorry to be missing Hotline Live every night that I do. So delighted to be back.
I'm delighted that you're back, Dan, to be perfectly
I know
honest
you
with
hate hosting. You hate hosting.
What?
I know that you hate hosting.
I thought you said I hate Austin. Austin Barrett's our sports editor. What are you talking about?
That's an exclusive.
Austin, I like Austin. Austin's a great guy.
Honestly, I thought you said that. What was he doing?
Setting fire at his career, eh? Aye, but no, I'm delighted to be back.
Honestly, trust me on this one. The pleasure is all mine, Dan. Delighted that you're back. Delighted that you managed to navigate your way back. I mean, that's a testing trip, that one, London and back.
We've already people in the comments.
What chance have you got traversing America this summer?
I don't want. People are already asking Mick why you're not going, and it's. We mentioned it on the show last week, and we actually did say this, Keith. This sounds like I'm making it up, but when you, Scott, and I were all in the office together, it's almost perfect. It'd be brilliant if Mick was going. That would make it perfect.
Me and Ollie McBurney are having a summer together playing golf at up Strathclyde Park, I think.
Okay, great.
I don't think we should really make much more of an issue of this, Dan. To be perfectly honest, it's starting to feel a bit awkward.
Well, okay. Where should we talk about football? Celtic, there's a few things going on there today. On the website, Record Sport Online, there's a story, Mick, that Lazio.
Anyway, Mick, you're like Phileas Fogg throughout the domestic season anyway. What are you talking about?
I know, it probably saved my marriage not going to the World Cup.
Lazio are apparently, quotes, in talks for Arne Engels. We all know Nottingham Forest have been credited with a strong interest, a £25 million bid in January. I think there's a few other teams have been credited with an interest, but it kind of looks like from the outside he won't be a Celtic player next season.
Yeah, listen, the Lazio link at the moment is fairly tenuous. I mean, it relies on a few things happening in terms of players going out and managers getting changed and all this kind of stuff. But what it's clear is that the ball is rolling on Arne Engels' summer exit. He was close in the winter. Obviously, I'm still surprised that Celtic knocked back 20 million quid up front with another 5 million add-ons. Serious money.
No surprise as Arne Engels is, obviously.
I mean, and I was also not surprised that he pulled a hammy in the first game after that.
I don't think he's quite in it.
I am a bit cynical when it comes to these kind of things. Listen, I think he's a top player and he will go for big money. I know some people are kind of... I think his absence actually highlighted how important a player he was for Celtic, or is for Celtic. I think there will be interest in the summer. In fact, I know there is interest in him in England and abroad. I think he's tailor-made for the English game, to be perfectly honest with you. I think I can see... I mean, Forest were the first ones to make their move. I wouldn't be surprised if other clubs at that kind of level had a look at him as well, because he's a big, strong guy. He's good in the ball. He can pick a pass. Listen, he's a Belgian international. He's been capped for a while, but he has been capped by Belgium. I think he's a good age. He's got a high ceiling. That's the thing as well. He's not the finished article. So there is going to be interest. I suspect that after what happened in January, Arne Engels, Mr. 10%, will be working overtime to highlight the fact that there was interest in him like that. That's how it works in this game. You know, it's you've got to... You listen, Celtic, the model, that's the model. You do your 2 years and you get so big money. If Arne Engels checks out for £20 million plus, it's job done. If he delivers another title, then even more so. But that's the model, and it's the way they have to operate. They shouldn't have knocked back 25 million quid in January, because it kind of defeated the purpose of having that kind of sign in the first place. The trick is having a guy lined up to replace him. Celtic didn't have any deal. I mean, clearly the January window somehow was actually worse than the summer window, which took some bit of going. I mean, we thought that the summer window was the bottom of the barrel. Turns out January topped it or bottomed it. So if they had lost a candidate lined up to replace them, they took the money and ran. But they didn't. So, but they've got time now. So if money starts coming in, there will be interesting offers. I expect them to be the big money bids coming in from them. Celtic don't need to take the money, so they can sit tight. But they should be making contingency plans in the background to have them going and be ready for the move.
Look, let's get it right here with Arne Engels, and we've seen this with a kind of series of players over the last while at Celtic. When he learned that Nottingham Forest were at the table and the sort of wages that might have been an offer or would have been an offer for him, had he been able to move down in January, there is no way that makes no sense on any basis for Celtic to now repel another big money offer if one comes in, which I imagine it probably will do over the course of the summer. I don't think he's been quite emotionally right since that development over the transfer window in the winter. I don't think you can risk, pushing him further into some sort of dark mood by refusing to sanction something if something comes in that he fancies doing in the summer. Yeah,
I think you've got to be fair. That's what I'm saying. When you buy these players, the proviso is come and do 2 years, then we'll sell you. That's the selling point. Celtic are, well, like it or not, they're a development club at a big level, and that's what's worked for Matt O'Reilly's and Edwards and Dembele's, and all these guys, Christopher Ayers. Do your time, bring success, and then you go on for big money. The trick is having the conveyor belt to replace them. That's where Celtic have fallen down in the last 18 months, 2 years.
100%.
The constant stream of talent coming in is grind to a halt, and that's where the problems have came from. But listen, I think Arne Engels is a guy who, I think the hustle bustle of Scottish football doesn't really suit him. I think there's times when there's certain games he looks like, what the heck is going on here? But I think at a different level, I say England or abroad, you'll see that. I think you'll actually see an improvement in him again. I think you'll go and you'll be a guy who'll be sitting and watching Match of the Day in 5 years' time, and he'll have a couple hundred appearances in the English Premier League under his belt.
He always does, funnily enough.
Better in the Champions League, doesn't he?
Yeah, I was about to say that he does look like a more effective player the higher level he goes. Often I watch Celtic and going about their domestic work, and he's another one of those players that, there's nice touches, there's nice bits and bobs throughout a course of 90 minutes domestically. I don't think I can remember a single domestic game where I thought he's totally dominated the midfield today. I've never seen it. To be fair, I don't think I've seen it in the Champions League either, but he does look like a more effective player the higher up the level goes a little bit. So I think you're right. I think it'll probably suit all parties. I don't know if Celtic can guarantee that they'll get the money that Nottingham Forest were prepared to spend allegedly in January. I'm not sure about that. I thought that was massive money. And I think the Forest were doing it because they were obviously looking at a second half of a campaign, trying to keep themselves in the English Premier League. They were prepared to throw the kitchen sink at it late on in the transfer window. Celtic might be doing well to get a bid of a comparable size in the summer. Maybe I'm wrong, Mike. Maybe that's unfair, but I'd be quite surprised.
I think you look at the market in England. I think £20 million for a guy that profile is reasonable. Not a big ask. Not a big ask. I think that's if English teams, it's a decent bargain for a guy with his ceiling. But it remains to be seen.
Does that kind of prove Brendan Rodgers right then, guys? Because I mean, signed for 11 million, record signing, taking a lot of stick for that at times. But if he's going to make that money back and more,
see that Daniel, though, the 11 million quid. It's not Brendan Rodgers who said, I want to spend £11 million. This guy, Celtic went about half of that earlier, and then kind of dithered and dallied a little bit, and the price went up. So it got to that value because Celtic weren't nimble enough to get a deal done sharp enough. So it caught, as it's happened many times now in the last 2 years. So the 11 million quid, I mean, same with Adam Ida as well, at 7 million quid. Those fees weren't what they would have been if Celtic had been operating in a little bit more nimble fashion.
Wasn't either
So,
9 million, man?
£9 million, sorry. Yeah. So I mean, it's not. It wasn't Brendan Rodgers saying I want to spend 11 million quid. That guy, if it'd been 5.5, everyone were thinking that's an absolute steal. 11 million quid, you go record signing. He should be pinging balls at top corner every week. And he's not that kind of player. So it's not his fault they got to that fee, but they'll make their money back and then some on them, no doubt. But they would have made more if they were a bit sharper on getting them.
And listen, Daniel, you say, does that sort of vindicate Brendan Rodgers? Everything that's happened since Brendan Rodgers left the club has vindicated Brendan Rodgers. We were all wondering, waiting, inquiring. Did he want to come out and say his bit? Did he have something to say to sort of respond to the way it ended for him at Celtic? And he just wasn't interested. I think he probably was just playing a smart long game, going, well, do you know what? We'll just let this season go on and see how it works out. And eventually the proof will be in the pudding. Brendan Rodgers has been proven to be correct. And whether or not he was correct to handle it in the manner that he did, whether or not the Honda Civic thing was a great idea. But you've seen over the course and distance of the entire season now that everything he said, all the alarm bells that he was ringing, it's all come home to roost. Brendan Rodgers was right. And the board have really mishandled this season, but probably the last 18 months stroke 2 years. And it ended as it was going to inevitably end with a partner of ways with Brendan Rodgers. I don't think it was necessary for Dermot Desmond to come out and take a flamethrower at him and his reputation. But that just showed sometimes you get an angry response when you know you're right, when you've pressed the right buttons. I think that's what Brendan Rodgers did. Ultimately, it ended horribly. I thought that the way that Dermot Desmond handled it was embarrassing for a football club at the size scale of Celtic. But ultimately, when you examine everything that Brendan Rodgers said and did, and what he was trying to achieve, he was proven right again. Celtic board were not prepared to match his ambition, and it made it really difficult for him to move that team onwards and upwards. You've seen what effectively the Celtic regime have done in terms of their lack of coordination and strategy in the transfer market. Celtic are seriously depleted and downgraded from where they were 12 months ago under Brendan Rodgers. I don't think anybody, or a little bit longer, I don't think anybody could argue that that's not the case. And Rodgers was right.
I think he was right, but there's also the fact where Brendan Rodgers ended up is a little bit too neat a bow as well, because the scenario that I suspect Rodgers was looking for actually transpired eventually. And I know there's a suspicion inside Celtic as well that was in the pipeline. That move is coming in the pipeline. So listen, the reality is somewhere, like, was Brendan Rodgers angling to make a move somewhere else to Saudi Arabia? Probably. Was he let down by the club board? Absolutely. So it's both things go right at the same time. And
do you think as smart a guy as Brendan is, do you think for a solitary second that he envisaged creating a situation where Dermot Desmond would come out and absolutely machine gun him in full public view? I don't think so. I don't think that he factored that in one bit.
No, I don't think that. I don't think he envisaged that. But I also know for a fact there's a suspicion that we're growing and behind the scenes that was something was afoot from Saudi or elsewhere. I don't think they knew it was Saudi, but they knew it was from elsewhere. I think if Celtic had kept their powder dry for a while, that might have looked differently. But it definitely was a breakdown between the club and the manager, that's for sure. It didn't benefit anyone apart from Brendan, probably, who's now in about 15 million quid a year. And listen again, does anyone walk away from a big money contract unless they're going to another big money contract? I don't think so. So I think there's somewhere in between there. Celtic handled it very badly. Dermot Desmond lashing out like that. He lost any kind of high ground he might have had by doing that, and it made him look very petty and kind of bitter. Didn't help anyone, and the whole thing is soured much of the season, really. That whole breakup. But listen, the Celtic are where they are now. It's what on the bridge, isn't it? It's Martin O'Neill came back, and that feels about 10 years ago. That all happened.
It doesn't feel like this season. No, it really doesn't feel as if that. Same with Russell Martin. No. None of it feels now at this point as if you almost think, God, that was a while. How many seasons back was that? What, it was this season? As you said, Mick, you used a great phrase. It's just been like one long, 10-month fever dream of a season. This.
I've lost and gained 2 stone about 5 times since that point. my graph has been going like that about 5 different times. The rocky roads of my waistline.
Well, we've got plenty of comments coming in, and if you want to get involved in the conversation, please hit us up with your thoughts. Rebels first up saying Leicester look like relegation favourites again this year. Brendan never left them in good shape, albeit he wasn't backed there either.
I don't know if he can. I don't know if he should get sort of reflective blame for Leicester.
Is they going to League One?
This, yeah, I mean that was a way. I mean, okay, granted they were struggling in his last season, weren't they? And they were. It did look as if they were on a serious downward spiral. They were definitely heading towards the Championship. So maybe there is a bit of reflective blame on that, but I think it's difficult all this far down the line to say that this season to attribute that to Rodgers. Although clearly, when you look at that squad of players, a lot of them were signed from Brendan's time. There's a lot of big earners in there. I can't explain what's happened to Leicester, but it's actually, I find it a bit of a shame, because they were such. This is 10 years ago, the season that they won the English Premier League, and now they're just an absolute free fall. So I feel for them a little bit.
Your low Muppet says, am I missing something? Engels has done nothing but cross balls. He's never an £11 million pound player, never mind 25. Green Machine says the board sold quality players and pushed out a top manager. That's why we are fighting for the league. John says Brendan doesn't have to say a word. Situation, it speaks for itself. Paulio says if we can persuade Engels to stay for one more year under the right manager, he'd be worth 40 million. And this one, your low Muppet also. Oh, sorry, go on.
It's a big number.
That's a big number. Your low Muppet says if Engels is worth 25 million, then Raskin is worth 35 million.
It's always the Engels and Raskin thing, isn't it? It's like, by the way, the pair of them who are quite pally hate talking about each other. If you want to laugh, just for a bit feeling mischievous, ask Arne Engels about Raskin, and you see his eyeballs rolling right out of his head. They don't like the comparison getting made of it. It's natural. You get 2 guys outside the divide, both playing for Belgium in similar kind of roles, I guess. They're both good players. Simple as that, aren't they?
Yep. On other Celtic news, while we're on Celtic, obviously massive game at the weekend back in league action. They're playing Falkirk, 5:30 on Saturday evening. Another huge game for them. Mick, you had a piece for Record Sport Online today, which is up on the website. The Green Brigade as well, they've released a statement saying, come on guys, let's be friends again. Let's everyone get behind the team. There'll be no drama if it doesn't go well. I'm not sure I believe them, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah, it's the ceasefire. I don't like to use this language on a piece of actual war in the world, but you know what I mean. It's a kind of a tabloid ceasefire, isn't it? Let's be not be too serious. So it does seem as though that the hostility's been put to one side. Everyone's in the same team again. We're all going to support the side and all that stuff. Wait and see if it's for 2-0 down at half time. Let's wait and see if that's the case. I think Celtic, I mean, I mentioned a piece today that I think they've still got so many issues that Martin O'Neill has got. I mean, so many different dilemmas. I mean, I touched on it today that in the actuals, his best striker can't play 90 minutes. Dyson Maida has to play through the middle, that means, but he's better out in the left. He's more effective out there. He's not an actual striker. The best midfield player is Cal McGregor, who's also not fully fit. So who replaces him? Who plays that role? There's nobody really to play that kind of role because Oxlade Chamberlain is more advanced and can't play 90 minutes. You get guys like Arthur Johnson might be coming back. I suspect this weekend might be too soon, but when he's back, he can't do 90 minutes. So it's like he's got half a team that can't play for 90 minutes. So Martin has to kind of get this big jigsaw puzzle with 3 or 4 pieces missing and make it fit and make it work. And he has just about done that for most of this kind of spell. But it's certainly not straightforward for him. And none of these games have been easy. Even that game at the weekend, I mean, they were right. They won 6-2 eventually, that 6-minute blitz that came out of nowhere. But that's not been the case all season. So these are issues that he's going to have to overcome, and he won't have the answers because there aren't any answers because there's bits missing to the puzzle.
What's your thoughts, Mick? Because Brian Stevenson's column was quite interesting. He said, obviously looking at it through Hearts' perspective, he's coming away from the weekend now. He's not sure anymore what to make of anything. Right, we're all in that boat. But specifically in terms of Celtic, you could look at it one way and say they could only manage a 2-2 draw. They blew a 2-goal lead against St Mirren, a bottom six side, which should give Hearts loads more encouragement for the final run of league games. And the flip side of that is they go and blitz the St Mirren defence in that period of extra time with 4 goals in the first 15 minutes. I think it was probably it was over a 7-minute period of injury time, wasn't it?
Yeah. 4 goals in 6 minutes,
So his kind of flip side is, could that be the moment that bounces Celtic into this final run and gives them that extra bit of belief and cutting edge? It's a really interesting one. We won't know, I guess, until we see what the standard performance looks like against Falkirk this weekend. What do you suspect? Do you think this is that Sunday was a big moment for Celtic in terms of it could be the moment that gets them firing again? Or do you think it was just more proof that they're just not very good in the first place and probably not good enough to win this title?
Yeah, listen, St Mirren beat Hearts, remember, as well. So we can't, I mean, it's and they put them at the cup as well. So it's I wouldn't be, if you're a Hearts fan, I don't think you can take that argument. But listen, Celtic have been there before. I mean, Celtic had these countless last-minute goals and wins, and you think this is the turning point. And then the following week they go and turn on a stinker. We thought before Tannadice that was the momentum has shifted because of the back-to-back successes against Rangers, and then they go and trip up and they go and turn in an absolute howler at Tannadice. So you never really know with this Celtic team. What I would say is that they should look at that 6-minute period when the handbrake was off and look at it and try and capture that lightning in a bottle, because playing that way with the shackles off, with pace, power and running at teams, not passing the ball back like they have done all season, the safety first kind of thing, it seemed to work. I mean, you've got to take account that someone might have been caught a bit cold with the first, and then they slumped and they collapsed. But
and they put in an almighty effort to get back from 2-0 in that second half.
Yeah,
they would have spent a lot of energy in that second half. So various factors to consider.
So there is, but I think Celtic, that the fixtures have been fairly kind now as well, because I mean, even when people are talking about the Rangers and Hearts game being at Parkhead, which is obviously a boost for Celtic, but the fact is now it's Falkirk and Hibs up next, and you get Falkirk who are on their knees after the disappointment last week at Hampden. I mean, they will be kicking themselves at missing out in a cup final. They're also 5 points behind Hibs. It looks like a Falkirk team whose season might now have kind of come to an end. I wouldn't say it's a conscious thing, but I mean, John McGlynn mentioned after Hampden, he says, well, we owe it to other teams to be integrated to the league, to play our best and all that. Even mentioning that, you think, he's worried that this is going to be, right, we've done our job now, we're top 6, we're not going to finish any higher. I'm not going to Magaluf for a broken leg, chaps. Thanks very much. I'm not going with a Stookie in my flip flops. So obviously he's like, that's a subconscious thing. Hibs also, I mean, they're still got a bit more to play for, I guess. Flaky. Hibs always difficult for Celtic Easter Road. The record there's pretty bad over the years in comparative terms to the other venues, but I think it's 2 fairly decent games for Celtic. So you think if Celtic can capture that moment, that extra time feeling, and get 2 wins on the board, who knows what's happening elsewhere? Because it could be the table could look entirely different by that point. You've got Edinburgh Derby on Sunday, which I'm going to, which would be, I mean, ferocious. Hibs would love nothing more than to kind of trip up their old pals. And you've got Rangers and Hearts meeting as well. So it could look very different for Celtic in 2 games' time. But you wouldn't bet a brass penny on them falling flat in their face in these games either. So which makes it a bit of a thrill ride, doesn't it?
It certainly does. We've got more comments coming in. The first one that I want to focus on, Peter Ferguson says, Mick Gannon, the Magaluf strip. Now, that's a sight.
Oh, a few years ago now. A few years since I was in Magaluf.
He's trying to add, I'm not buying it, Keith. I think we'll see that. That's not that far-fetched a sight, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
I honestly, I've seen this man in action. I think the last thing that anybody needs in their life is the Mick Gannon Magaluf combo.
I was with Magaluf in the 90s. I made the in-betweeners look cool.
Away from Mick and Magaluf, this one, he says, worst Celtic team for 30 years and still the only team that can win the double. That's how bad the rest are. P. McLaughlin says, I mean, if Hibs beat Hearts, then Hearts beat Rangers. Celtic can chug along the 2-0s and 2-1s. It's not impossible. Sing the Blues says there's a prospect of Rangers clinching it at Celtic Park. And
the authorities will love that. Dream case scenario,
Absolutely. And Ali Quinn says the Honda Civic will break down after the Falkirk game. You can't expect John McGlynn to try a leg against his beloved Celtic.
John McGlynn's a jambo.
I was going to say, I think John McGlynn, I said this in the show on Sunday, he looked bereft on Saturday. He looked like he didn't recognise his team. He looked livid.
Well, that is the one thing. It is now, and I think Mick's right. I think automatically, subconsciously, it's very difficult to recreate that sort of competitive edge when you know that's you're done now, your season's burst.
Aye.
You've achieved what you've achieved already, and it is just a matter now of fulfilling fixtures for them.
I think Motherwell are a wee bit in that bag as well. They've only won 2 of the last 10 now.
Yeah. Possibly. I think that they ran out of gas just before the split, didn't they? They were starting to show signs of a little bit of fatigue, but you just don't know. And this season has been so topsy-turvy. Who's to say that John McGlynn hasn't gone in and had a heart-to-heart with these players and showed them the tapes for the weekend and went, guys, we are so much better than that. We cannot have had such a brilliant season and then just let it fizzle out like that. He looked furious with what he was seeing, same as he did against Rangers the previous weekend. Who knows what the conversations have been like behind the scenes in there this week? He might demand a performance, demand that the standards are returned for the last 5 games, and he might get something because all the pressure's also just been released from Falkirk, hasn't it? They are effectively just playing games now. It is fulfilling fixtures, but it's also a chance to go and maybe take the handbrake off, or just go and enjoy the fixtures, enjoy themselves, enjoy going to Celtic Park. So we'll wait and see, because I would, given how good John McGlynn has been and how good Falkirk, how impressive they've been in the top flight this season, I'm a wee bit hesitant to say that's them, they're bust now. I can understand the theory behind it, but you just never know. You never know what you're going to get. And similar with Motherwell probably pretty disappointed with their recent form, and they want to reignite, and we all wanted that. We all wanted this top 6, which has been terrific. Falkirk been a breath of fresh air all season. Motherwell just been absolutely amazing. Hearts, sensational story. Hibs in there, so you've got the Edinburgh. And we wanted everybody to be going at it full guns blazing in this in the post-split games. Still might happen, but I accept it's a little bit more difficult in terms of motivation now for John McGlynn and for Motherwell, because they're a little bit bruised over the last couple of weeks, I think, both of them.
Do you think, David Gillespie says in the comments, what happened to the Motherwell super coach? Do you think them, if their form does continue to fall off a cliff in the last 5 games, will that hurt Jens Bertalasco's prospects of...
No, I think that everybody would understand, be completely mindful of the situation that they're in, what they've done this season, most importantly, what their footballs look like, because it's been a complete style transformation. It's been terrific to watch. I think if you ask 99 out of 100 fans in this country would probably say that Motherwell's transformation, that's been the most incredible part of the season in terms of one team changing the way that Motherwell have changed and played the game, and it's been astonishing. And I think because of that, I think people would be understanding. If you're looking at him, I don't think you would put it that way if Motherwell fade a little bit over the final furlong, because they've had to put a lot of energy into this season, not running the biggest squad in the world. I know he's no stranger to making the odd change here and there at his starting lineup, but he's been working with a pretty small squad of players, and he's got the maximum out of them. So I don't think that would have any kind of impact on if somebody is looking at him as a potential new manager for next season, I don't think what Mother will do over the course of the last few weeks of the season will make a blind bit of difference to that. Mick?
I think it makes a harder sell if the season peters out for Motherwell and they miss out in Europe. I think it would be criminal. I think they deserve a place in Europe after the way they played this year. So I think you need a big push to finish and make sure they get that European place. I think if it doesn't, it's a harder sell for Celtic, that kind of appointment. I still think that's too big a gamble for Celtic, Askew. I think if there was an established structure in place at Celtic with a director of football, a head of recruitment, a chairman, all these positions in place for him to walk into, that I think he could be a coach and do well. But Celtic needs such a big rebuild with so little support structure. I think it's too big for that kind of job, for that kind of guy who's after a season at Motherwell and a season manager in the Faroes and a few coaching jobs. It's too much. I mean, I think he's a great coach. I think he's got.
I wasn't talking about Celtic specifically.
Sorry,
but now you have brought Celtic up.
I was, Mick, to be fair. That's what I mean.
I mean, you can't fail to be impressed with what he's done.
Totally.
And if you're on the Celtic board, although who knows how they think, you would look at it surely and think, well, if he can do that with a fairly average bunch of kind of Motherwell players, I mean, I don't want to call them, I think it's disrespectful, journeyman and all that, but I've heard it used. But, I think everybody realises what you mean. They're not big earners. They're not not invested millions and millions and millions of pounds into this squad of players. So if he can do that with those limits on him, restraining him, then the question would be automatically, what could he do with a squad which is funded to the level that Celtic's is funded? And I think that is intriguing, but I think I'd be on your side of that.
Right, but
I think I would need to, if I was Celtic, I would probably need to see him put together a bigger back catalogue. I'm not sure one season at Fir Park could justify him getting the Celtic job. But then again, I probably said much the same about Danny Rowe after 1.5 seasons at Sheffield. I didn't think in Sheffield Wednesday, I didn't think that qualified him for a conversation about getting the Rangers job, and ultimately I could be proven very wrong this season.
Yeah, but I suspect the question that you asked there is the reason why I think is a big question about it, is what would he be like with a bigger scale budget and all comes with it? And the answer is we don't know because he's never done it. That's the problem, and it's a bigger, so therefore it's a bigger gamble. Listen, I don't think there's any doubt in his coaching credentials. I think he's a terrific coach. He's a great talker. Anytime I've spoke to him, I've been really impressed.
Yeah,
a wee bit scared as well. He's quite intimidating. Yeah. I asked him a relatively safe question, and I got scared of the bejesus at me in the answer. I think he is going. I think he's going to go places. But I just think at this point in time at Celtic, the work being done, there's so many things that has to be done at Celtic that for a rookie manager, it's not the coaching. The coaching part is the easy part at Celtic. It's the other stuff.
No, it wasn't so much for Wilfred Nancy.
Well, that was the first problem. But again. Wilfred Nancy might have worked if he had the structure to support him around him. He didn't have it. He was thrown at the wolves. So without that, a solid base to go from, you can't appoint a kind of rookie manager because they need the support to give him that platform to go and do what he does. And Celtic don't have that right now.
Do you think, Mick, see when we're looking at what Celtic do in a longer term plan, i.e. from this summer onwards, right? Do you think that because they got their fingers burnt with Wilfred Nancy, which was one of those out the box sort of appointments, blue sky thinking, and here's this guy, he's going to reinvent the wheel and he's going to play this and it's going to be fantastic. Do you think because they got their fingers so badly burned with that it might alter the sort of candidates they would look for to replace Martin O'Neill in the summer, that they might play it a little bit safer this time around because they couldn't possibly deal with the same sort of catastrophic results all over again?
It depends. It depends on what Dermot Desmond thinks and decides to do.
Yeah, it does. You're right.
In reality, and it also depends on the market.
I think Dermot Desmond picked Wilfred Nancy though.
Well, he was persuaded to pick him. He was persuaded to think this was the right guy and liked what he saw, and he spoke to him and liked the cut of his jib. We had a 40-minute phone call with him a month before he's appointed. And immediately said to him, I like what I hear. You're my man. So that was how it unfolded. So it depends, and the same thing happened with Ange Postecoglou as well. I mean, it's obviously came through the kind of Mark Lawwell connection with Ange, through Peter Lawwell, and then once it was sold to kind of Dermot Desmond, he spoke to him and thought, I like to cut this guy's jib, then let's go for it. So that changes the kind of the thinking. Usually clubs, you know, it's like if you go one way and it doesn't work, you go wildly the other way. So you get a young coach at 35 and it bombs, you bring in the 75-year-old guy next. Or you've got Roy Hodgson, 82-year-old, whatever it is. But Celtic don't really Celtic don't follow the normal rules. I mean, the normal rules of football clubs don't appoint Brendan Rodgers in the first place, because that was a blockbuster signing back in the first time round. You certainly don't get him back again after the way it finished the first time round. Bring him back. So Celtic don't always play by the rule. Don't they go and try and get Eddie Howe? Doesn't quite work out. Then go to Ange Postecoglou. So Celtic, they never really have. Usually you get like a profile of managers, and there's a list of 4 guys, and they're all fairly similar, and you think that's the market they're going for. They tend to be Celtic. It can be 4 guys from 4 parts of the globe, 4 different age groups, styles. It's a slightly different way of operating. They don't play by the rules, Celtic, when it comes to this kind of stuff with management. So they could go in a variety of different directions. It wouldn't surprise me with either, to be honest.
There's a mini debate, guys, in the comments about Neil Lennon potentially coming back to Celtic. John McCauley is one of them. He says Martin O'Neill stays as director of football with Neil Lennon as manager. Could you see it, perhaps? Badger says, I could see Neil Lennon back at Celtic, considering what he's done at Dunfermline. Celtic go back to what they know best. I mean, is that a completely ridiculous shout, or...
Well, the very fact that Martin O'Neill's in the dugout just now, more than 2 decades after his first stint, does show you that Celtic have previous for this, and Brendan Rodgers come back twice. They do. That is part of Dermot Desmond's decision-making process, isn't it? It's been proven before. I think it would be highly unlikely, because I think it would be a hard sale, despite the fact that what Neil Lennon's currently achieving, getting Dunfermline a Scottish Cup final. I'd struggle to see it. But at the same time, Martin O'Neill moves upstairs, whether it's a director of football role, whether it's a chairmanship, and Neil Lennon goes in. Maybe on a wave of sentimentality, Celtic might go for it, but I don't think so. I think the fans are wanting a more progressive, sort of clean slate approach, something much more contemporary. I think that with the majority of the fans would be in that boat, and I think that would make that idea a pretty hard sell. It might make it an even harder sell, by the way, if Neil Lennon wins the Scottish Cup final, breaks Martin's heart in the process, and leaves Celtic, crestfallen at Hampden in the final day of the season. As we said, that would make him the pantomime villain at Celtic, one of the biggest pantomime villains of all time, if he stops Martin O'Neill for getting his hands on that trophy at the end of the season. And then what? Somebody offers him the job in the showers again at the National Stadium. We've been in that. Maybe it is. What was the boy Bobby Ewing went for a shower and then. That could be the Neil Lennon Bobby Ewing moment. He comes out the showers at Hampden and he's Celtic manager all over again.
Right, away from Celtic, Rangers. Keith, I saw yourself in Scott last night talking about James Tavernier. I wanted to bring this up just because I'm so confused by the narrative around Tavernier. I know he's not the greatest player in the world, but this is a guy that for almost 10 years, he's won every trophy. He's even captained Rangers in a European final. I know he said yesterday he's not been off the contract. Would you guys both keep him at Rangers beyond the end of the season?
I think it might be time. I think and do you know something? See that trophy that he's holding there with Steven Gerrard? See if he could get a grip of that again. I think, wouldn't that just be the perfect symmetry for him? I think that he could then walk away from the club he's held high, having sort of not completely done away with the suggestion that he's been a serial loser over his period in time. As to be captain of Rangers and only win 3 trophies over this amount of seasons is something that he's always going to have to carry with him. That's not a prolific return, far from it. I think if he could add another Premier League title to it, then that would be a nice way to underline everything that he's done. He's all his time at the club. So as I said last night, he can't be blamed personally on an individual basis for the fact that Rangers have been a basket case over this period of time, both on the pitch at times and off the pitch at times. That's not all on him. He's made his own contribution on the field, which the stats behind it are astonishing. It's not his fault. You need another 10 players out there to go and win a league, win games of football and win trophies. So you can't pin all that. It's not fair to pin it all on Tavernier, and yet he has become the poster boy for it. So I think, you know, for him on a personal level, if he could end the season providing Rangers with another Premier League title or Premiership title, and then going and have a new adventure someplace else, I think that'd probably be the best for everyone. Certainly be the dream scenario for Tavernier. Regardless of how the season works out, Premiership title or not, I think it's probably a good time for a partner the ways. There'll be a lot of Rangers fans that would argue, and not without good reason, that why wouldn't you keep him as cover it right back? But I don't know if James Tavernier really wants to see out his last couple of years at Rangers as a guy that's making the odd cameo from the bench. I think he'll believe that he could go and play at a very decent level someplace for that period, and his stats and numbers would say that there's some justification to that. So I just think, for a number of reasons, that this might be a good moment to draw the line and shake hands and go and do something different instead.
I think Keith makes a really reasonable argument there, Mick, and I can't really disagree with what he said. I guess the point I'm really getting at is that I don't get why there's not a bit more love for Tavernier. I mean, 102 league goals, despite the penalties, for any defender. I just think he gets way too much stick, a lot more stick than he deserves, to be frank.
Yeah, I take that point as well. He should have had more trophies over this period. Yeah, he's unfortunate he's run into a time when Celtic have been so dominant. And I don't think, as I say, you can't hang a lot. I mean, he's had to deal with some pretty poor Rangers teams through the years, and he's been the one that's kind of carried them to even get within striking range at times of Celtic. Think back at the kind of, we talked about the Brendan Rodgers period at the first time round, even the Ange Postecoglou period, they gave them a good run in the first season as well. So, yeah, I think he's 35 in October. I mean, unfortunately, time waits for no man in the game, and there has been signs that he's naturally was showing his age. It's harder to get up and down the pitch at that age. Yeah, I think it's probably about time that he kind of maybe chatted on a new challenge. And if we look back, people look back, once time will be kind to him. You know, and the people look back as a tremendous servant for Rangers, a right good captain, delivered some major successful moments in terms of winning the league and the European run and all that kind of stuff. But you've got to be realistic. 35 October, I mean, Rangers are needing to kind of kick on again. They'll be hoping to be in the Champions League next season. Yeah, it's maybe time to part ways and wish him all the best, I think.
I did say last night, Daniel, part of the discussion, there was a, and I think these are kind of decisions that the new regime with Andrew Kavanagh and the 49ers will look to improve upon. That season that Rangers reached the Europa League final under Van Bronckhorst, at that point, Tavernier was one of the most hotly rated right-backs anywhere in Europe. I think he was the highest scorer in the Europa League campaign that season all across Europe. He was at max value. And he was also not a spring. I mean, look, he was obviously far from on a downward trajectory, but he was pretty much peaking. And at that moment in time, if Rangers had a proper business model and proper people making the decisions, I think that's when you cash in. And I think Rangers could have done that. I know that I mentioned Nathan Patterson was there. He was ready to step in. They actually let Nathan Patterson go to Everton. But if you're doing your forward planning properly, you say to Nathan Patterson in January, you're not going to Everton, son. Staying here, you're my first choice right back next season. And I want you to play 3 seasons here. And then you can go down south. And when you go down south, you'll not be going for 12 million. You'll be going for double that. Exactly the sort of model that Celtic used with Kieran Tierney, who, you know, Celtic had a fan, and Izagiri, a fan's favourite left back. But they saw the development track for Kieran Tierney. Said, no, I know this guy's a fan's favourite. This boy's ready. And they put him in, and he got his seasons worth of experience, got all the games under his belt that he needed, and then went for £25 million to Arsenal. If the model is running right, that's the way it runs. That's it. In a nutshell, the Kieran Tierney, Izagiri, Arsenal thing is the perfect way to work it. And Rangers had that opportunity and they blew it. And I think that's when they should have been looking to cash in on Tavernier. And now here it is, and it's going to feel kind of a little bit unsatisfactory no matter how it goes. But what decision is taken, because he is on the wane now, and he's been a great servant for Rangers. I just think if Rangers had been doing their business properly, that would have been the optimum time to move on and say, Nathan Patterson, you go in there, son, and you go and get the next 2-3 seasons. And how much better would that have been for Nathan Patterson's development, as opposed to going down to Everton, not getting much of a game because he didn't have the games racked up under his belt the same way that Kieran Tierney did when he went to the English Premier League. It would have made sense on every level, but that was the Rangers of then. And you like to think now that they've got the new people in charge. I think these people are a lot more adept, a lot more smart at the way that they view how to run these things. I wouldn't expect them to make a similar mistake to that all over again.
The very last thing, guys, Big Rab is a big Celtic man, Keith. He says you were talking rubbish last night by saying that Manny Fernandes could be sold for millions by Rangers. I think it's worth mentioning that reports down south today say Arsenal are keeping a very close eye on the Rangers defender. And for what it's worth...
What's this guy saying?
He says, well, how much is Engels going for, Keith, after your rubbish last night on the Rangers defender? And I would
not even say the boy's name.
I know. Emmanuel Fernandes.
One big rap. They're better than that.
I think.
And by the way, if you're going to spell Engels' name properly, please.
There you go, Rab.
Right.
I think he's going to make Rangers an absolute fortune as well.
I think he will as well. I mean, we Scott put and I'll just clarify this. Scott McDermott put a £20 million fee in his head last night, not me. I questioned Scott and said, are you sure that that's the right sort of a figure? And possibly it is. If you look at the calibre of club that are meant to be monitoring the situation, if 2 or 3 of these prove to be true and come to the table, then you do start to look at big numbers. But yeah, I thought Nottingham Forest bidding 25. I thought there was a bit of desperation in that bid for Arne Engels. I think Mick was right earlier when he said it would be a number closer to 20. Maybe Rangers would be doing well to get 20 for a player that, you know, hasn't got a big back catalogue behind him, came from the lower leagues in England. I know that now he's been recognised at full international level by Nigeria. That'll help. And he's certainly had a very good, but it's only really been a very good 6 months. It's not as if he's come in and hit the ground running at the start of the season and been an ever present. He didn't look convincing at the start when he came into Russell Martin's team. Nobody did. But I think my own view with Fernandes is that Rangers should be looking to keep him for another season, because I think they might get optimum money for him after a full domestic and European season next season. I think they might be then looking at a good number if they sold him this summer, but they might be looking at double that number if they keep him for a full season.
I think if he plays well in the Champions League, maybe even goes into the late stages of the Europa League, I think he could make a lot of money for Rangers. I don't think 20 million is unreasonable at all, to be honest with you.
At the moment, I think it's fanciful. I mean, he's only made 28 appearances with Rangers. So it's very early days, and he is 25 this year. So he's not 19, 20.
He's not a kid. Yeah,
he's not a kid anymore. So we're not talking about this up and coming youngster we're talking about ceilings. So he's centre halves, I think, tend to get better late 20s anyway. So there is time, as you say, if he goes and plays well in Europe next year, catches the eye, then yes, you could be talking, because that kind of profile, his physique, the way he dominates in the air, he's a threat in both boxes. Absolutely, you can top those numbers. Not right now, but after another, I would be saying to him, stick tight, have a good season next season, and see where he sits next summer. Because at that point, he will be 25, 26. Then you go and think, right, go and get £20 million or beyond. And I could see it then. Maybe not now.
It's all about, see, to get this, and this is what we come back to the Tavernier thing that I was saying earlier when Nathan Patterson was still an option for Rangers. It's about when you're trying to get the player trading model right, a lot of it comes down to timing. You've got to be clever enough to work out the optimum moment. I think Rangers could make turn a quick coin on Fernandes this summer. I'm sure they could. But I think if you're looking to optimise it, I think, and he shouldn't be in a rush to move on. He's still, it's not as if we've talked about players at Celtic that think they're going for a 2-year project to then move on, then find out 2-year becomes 3-year, 3-year becomes 4-year against their will. I don't think that's the case with Fernandes. I think you could say to him, look, son, do you know what? You would benefit from one full season, and then next summer, let's see who comes in for you. I think that would benefit all parties actually for that one.
Well, look, on that note, guys, I think that brings us to the end of Tuesday Night's Hotline Live, brought to you by NordVPN. Thank you, as always, for all the comments. We massively appreciate it. We'll be back at 6 p.m. to do it all again tomorrow. But for now, Mick, Keith, it's always an absolute pleasure.
Thanks, Dan. Cheers, Mick.
I might go away and do my insurance forms for Magaluf. We're talking about Magaluf. I'm going to do my safety test for Magaluf.
Mick, let's get this right. There's not an insurance company in the world that would touch you for a holiday in Magaluf.
Well, these days it'd be Saga Insurance, maybe.
Well, good luck with that, Mick. We'll hopefully see. I'll be pestering you soon, I know that, to come back in the Hotline Live. But thanks for tonight, and thanks for watching at home, and hope you can join us tomorrow. Cheers.